Today, a judge orders the DOJ to prepare a redacted version of the Mar-a-Lago affidavit, record numbers of fentanyl pouring across our southern border, and New York Fashion Week, of course, celebrates a 10-year-old trans model. Oh my God, I'm so excited. We've got all of that and more coming up, and it all starts right now. Welcome to the News and Why It Matters. Happy Friday. I am Sarah Gonzalez, joined by, of course, BlazeTV contributor Alex Stein, also host of The Conspiracy.
I have to say something. I made one of the biggest mistakes of my life last week. I want to say this to everybody out there. I said that Hillary was better redheads more than big booty Latinas, and I feel so guilty, and I just want to apologize. And I got you a dozen red roses so you know that you are my favorite big booty Latina, and I love you more than Hillary, more than everybody, and that I feel incredibly guilty.
No,
and so I just wanted
forgiven.
to apologize. Okay.
Anytime you get a woman flowers, they have to forgive you. That's the law.
There you go. You heard it here first. That's a contract. Sign that, clip that. I'm okay. Now I'm in good graces.
Okay, well, that's
pleasure.
very sweet, Alex.
Sarah, this is a big honor, okay? You're competing with AOC here.
Yeah, I know. If you're watching this, turn it off. Turn off the channel right now.
Wait, have you learned nothing?
Okay, I just
Get more
Yeah,
flowers.
more flowers.
Savanah Hernandez, of course, you see here, joining us on the program. I would tell you to follow her, but she's banned basically everywhere. But not Instagram.
And
Yeah,
not
not
YouTube.
Instagram.
Not
and
YouTube.
Yeah.
Yes, but doing tremendous work since she has sadly left us as an independent investigative journalist, which I'm very excited to talk to you about all of the stuff that you have been uncovering at the southern border. It's insane. So we'll get into that later on in the program. I want to talk about, so yesterday, a judge, we knew that this was coming. They had a hearing that was for whether or not they were going to release the Mar-a-Lago search affidavit. Of course, they released the some documents that pertained to that, but not the affidavit, which Trump was constantly like, release the affidavit, release the affidavit. The American people need to see it. And so the Justice Department has now been ordered since this hearing yesterday to redact the affidavit used to obtain the warrant to search Mar-a-Lago in such a way as to not jeopardize the investigation in case it's decided next week that the document can be unsealed. So this is Judge Bruce Reinhart, which I'm sure you guys know has connections to, of course, Jeffrey Epstein, which is always really fun to hear about. It's like Kevin Bacon, but worse. It's like
6 degrees of separation
from Jeffrey Epstein.
And he likes his ice cream and whiskey. You know that picture of him, of Reinhart, with his ice cream and whiskey?
No, I didn't see that.
It's just very cringe. And then they made an edited meme where it looked like Ghislaine Maxwell was massaging Judge Reinhardt's feet.
And then they put it on Fox News because Fox News didn't know that it was a fake photo.
Yeah,
What?
Yeah, you didn't see all that?
I didn't
no,
see
it was
this.
a viral story.
was,
but it was an obvious meme.
Yeah,
it was an obvious meme.
I love when the mainstream media does not understand memes and they think that it's real. Did you guys see? We're getting totally off track already, but it's Friday, so deal with it. The picture of Trump that they took from the golf course, where like they clearly very much aged him, and he looked like a completely different person. And then there had to be a USA Today fact check that no, actually, that wasn't a real picture of Trump. He didn't look like he was, his skin was falling off. That wasn't real, as it turns out.
Well, I do that to liberals on my thumbnails whenever I make them for YouTube. It's like clarity 100%, opacity all the way up. Make sure we can see every single pore. I want you to look as ugly as possible.
Yeah, you know why they do it to you?
They did that. Well, they did it to Trump. They always made him look more orange.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, like they don't hesitate to do it to you. So we're just fighting fire with fire.
But no,
here.
that's his natural skin tone, though, Alex.
It is orange, but
Yeah,
they have
that's
him
just
like
natural.
extra orange, like
Extra.
Cleveland Browns orange.
Yeah. So the order from Judge Bruce Reinhart charted a middle ground between, of course, the Justice Department was, their motion was to oppose any unsealing of part of the affidavit and, of course, calls from, as I mentioned earlier, Donald Trump to release the affidavit. It's just interesting. I talked about this earlier on in the week. It's interesting to hear this because We know what we know in hindsight of Donald Trump going on and saying they were spying on me, they were spying on my campaign, they were, they had these things tapped, they were doing all of these things. Russia collusion is a hoax. He's saying all these things that in the midst of all of it, all of the left, all of these alphabet agencies in the government, they say. He's a conspiracy theorist. What, we're spying on the Obama? The Obama administration was spying on him. Please, that wasn't happening. That's crazy talk. And then, of course, all of a sudden, a year or 2 years later, you always find out that was in fact true. They tried to accuse him of Russia. That ended up being a ton of taxpayer dollars wasted and 2 years of our lives wasted for them to say, just kidding, never mind. We actually don't have any information suggesting this. So it does, it's like, why would Donald Trump suggest, hey, this was wrong, release the affidavit, if he knew that releasing the affidavit would somehow hurt him, but we're supposed to believe that he's crazy and, there was nothing wrong with what the FBI did. They're just trying to, save democracy, I guess? I'm not quite sure.
Well, I think it's pretty obvious that, they talk about QAnon, which is crazy, which it is crazy, but I think Blue Anon, this, liberal anonymous conspiracy theorist is even crazier because, you talk about the Russian collusion. It was a coordinated attack to take Donald Trump out. That was an actual coup. And so what's happening now with this Mar-a-Lago investigation, for me, it just looks like the third impeachment, and I don't know if it'll work. We will see. But just like Roe versus Wade rallied the troops on the left to, get more politically involved, this is just going to rally the right to get people more politically involved. So I think it's going to backfire.
So Savanah, I want to hear from you, but I want to also throw in here basically the cover sheet of the affidavit that was able to be unsealed, if you will. They talk about 3 possible offenses. One is willful retention of national defense information. One is concealment or removal of government records. And then the third is obstruction of a federal investigation. It's just interesting because we kept hearing from the left that he had nuclear codes, that he was, he's trying to I don't know.
It's absolutely ridiculous, Sarah. And you're reading this story to me, you're talking to me about these fake points that they came up with, just like they came up with all of these other investigations, again, Russian collusion. I was even looking into, because again, there's so much corrosion in trust for the federal government, for the FBI, the CIA, the DOJ, take your pick with that. And I'm looking back at all the things that the feds try to pin on Trump, and it's so ridiculous because there was actually an ex-FBI lawyer that made up these fake claims to basically investigate Trump via the Russian collusion thing. Do you think that ex-FBI lawyer ever saw any prison time? No. And then we saw the whole Gretchen Whitmer plot. That's back in the news as well. But everybody, of course, is focused in on Donald Trump getting raided, some new, again, like Alex said, third impeachment. It's absolutely ridiculous. And to be quite honest with you, Sarah, it's like, I don't even want to keep up with this stuff because it's all fake and we already know it's fake and it's pointless to even focus in on this. And again, it's just the political persecution of Donald Trump. So he can't run in 2024. So obviously it's a big thing, but it's just such lies and BS. And I'm just so tired of hearing about it. It's like, why can't we just have a real normal society again? Like, we really need to take our country back and just stop with this corruption, honestly.
I don't want to make one point. 0 investigation to Bill Clinton being on the Lolita Express 26 times with no Secret Service or Hunter Biden. So come on, there's a lot of bigger fish to fry, but Donald Trump is their biggest threat.
Yeah, I mean, it is interesting because, you talk about how much they've politically persecuted the January 6th, non-violent January 6th political prisoners. And I mean, a lot of these people, they're not getting their due process. They're not getting to speak to their attorneys the way that they should. They're in solitary confinement. I mean, these people are being politically persecuted. But the FBI is focused more on, I guess, persecuting people if they've ever worn a red hat, rather than, Alex, as you pointed out, Hunter Biden. I mean, listen, I've seen way more of Hunter Biden than I ever wanted to see, than I ever thought I wanted to see, than I ever imagined that I would see. I've seen all of it. And does he have monkeypox right now? Maybe. I don't know. We'll probably see a video later on that shows us that he does because he records it all.
Hunter Biden is the most transparent part about Joe Biden's administration, to be quite honest with you. That's the only transparency we've seen out of this administration.
I mean, it's like, how do you come back from this as, Savanah, you mentioned the corrosion, the erosion of the American people's trust in I don't think it's even just the FBI. I think it's all of them, the CIA, the DOJ, all of it. But there's a new poll that just came out yesterday that says 53% of voters now agree with the statement. There is a, quote, group of politicized thugs at the top of the FBI who are using the FBI as Joe Biden's personal Gestapo. I mean, that language there is that's very intentional and it's very strong. Joe Biden's Gestapo. This is talking about the secret police of Nazi Germany. And 53% of voters are now saying, yep, I agree with that statement.
Well,
that's huge.
Let's even dive a little deeper. We know it's not Biden's Gestapo. It's probably Obama's Gestapo.
Fair.
You know, I mean, like Biden is even organized enough to, create some sort of coordinated attack against him. But I think it's just really obvious that we're losing our trust in these agencies and that they don't want us to have trust. You look at Sam Harris, who's like a left-wing media personality, said he wouldn't care if they found dead children in Hunter Biden's basement as long as it helped them win the election. So it's a coordinated attack, not just from the alphabet agencies and the media. So it's really like, I don't know how we win this culture war when the two biggest things are the weaponized Department of Justice and the weaponized media against the people.
And now all of these new IRS agents, who I'm sure they're just going to go after just the ultra rich, not the middle class. We've never seen the IRS be weaponized against a political party.
Sarah, they admit that they are only going to get $20 billion from auditing people making under $400,000 a year. That's why they hired 87,000 agents to get $20 billion from people making under $400K a year. Yet we gave $100 billion to the Ukraine. So, I mean, it just makes me sick.
It really does, Savannah.
I just love sitting back and actually going back to the IRS. I've been seeing all of these photos of the very progressive armed IRS agents that are being trained right now.
Yeah.
And I am shaking in my boots at the wheelchair IRS agent that's going to, roll up.
Literally roll up.
Yeah.
With his weapon, I guess.
So I don't know. Everything's just such a joke to me, Sarah. And I want to take things more seriously. But yeah, our entire government is a joke. The American people know that they're a joke. They don't trust them. And again, I think that's why we're seeing this surge of, I guess, what we're calling the new right? With Carrie Lake, Joe Kent, Blake Masters, all of these young, fresh politicians, because the people are so tired of this fake government that is working against them. They're tired of being, shoved propaganda down their throat. That's why Brian Stelter just lost his job, because nobody likes him.
We miss you, Brian.
We don't miss you, Brian. Go cry harder.
We miss you,
Why
Brian.
did you bring that up?
I know.
Please do not.
But that's the thing. It's just funny to me because it's like, the left severely overplayed their hand in every way, shape, or form, and now they're having to lie in the bed that they made, and they don't like it very much. But the American people getting very energized, especially after this Trump raid.
It's not even just the left, though. It's like, look at what happened to Liz Cheney this week, right? I mean, Liz Cheney went all
Cheney
in.
Is the left.
Well, that's fair. It's like, don't be redundant, Sarah.
Well, did you see the Saturday Night Live sketch?
No.
They have a sketch. Oh my gosh, everybody needs to watch it. It's called Is She a Republican? And they've done this bit before. And they had Liz Cheney, even SNL made a right-wing joking about in this game show. They talked about, she even says, I'm a Republican. And then the person on the game show says, she's a Republican. And then they're like, no, she's not. My point being,
really?
You have to watch this sketch. And it just exposes now, I think people even on the left are realizing, like, there are a lot of wolves in sheep clothing. And Liz Cheney is one of them. Yeah, everybody look up the SNL Liz Cheney sketch. It's brilliant.
That's fun. Okay, I'm going to have to watch it.
As soon as we're done,
they end that too with, Liz Cheney is going to be on MSNBC in about a week.
Yeah, but it's like these people, I mean, obviously she's in the Republican Party, like it or not, right? But the people of Wyoming decided, hey, you're actually not representing us because you're supposed to represent your constituents and your constituency, and she went all in on the Trump stuff, all in on the January 6th hearings. And that's how it turned out for her. So I think the American people, to Savannah's point, I think they're done with all of this. But we've got more to come. We got to take a quick break. First, I want to thank Tommy John. So again, I say this quite frequently, but I'm a woman. So I don't have the man parts down below. But I hear, Alex, maybe you can confirm, in the summer, especially in Texas, gets a little hot down there.
Swampy, as we say. Yes, that's what we call it here. Yeah.
So a way to avoid that is by getting Tommy John. So they've got a whole bunch of stuff now, but they are known for their underwear that is super breathable, and it's 4 times the stretch of competing brands. It's going to keep you cool, and it's not just for men now. They've got women's. They've got women's underwear. They've got bras. I love everything I have from Tommy John. My husband loves it as well. I feel like, I don't know, people think I'm a little dramatic about things, and including my husband. And when I had Tommy John and he didn't have them yet, I was like, you have to understand this is the best thing I've ever worn in my life. I've never worn anything more comfortable. And he's like, all right, calm down. And then I got him a pair and he was like, oh, I understand. This is actually amazing. So I'm telling you, you think I'm making this up, you have to try it for yourself. You're covered by their best pair you'll ever wear, or it's free guarantee. You can go to TommyJohn.com/Y for 20% off of your order. That is TommyJohn.com/Y. See site for details. DEA officials are now warning that new rainbow fentanyl is spreading in Oregon and Idaho throughout the West Coast. And obviously the fear is that it's what it sounds like when I say rainbow fentanyl, like they're all colored, different colors. It looks like candy. And yeah, go ahead and put that up on the screen. Yep. So it's like, oh, it's like Skittles. Let me try it if I'm a 5-year-old kid and I see it laying out. So that's obviously the fear, is that children will get their hands on it as well, thinking maybe it's a candy or a sidewalk chalk or something like that. And this is a very real, legitimate fear, especially considering that CBP, Customs and Border Protection, actually reported seizing 2,071 pounds of fentanyl coming in from Mexico just in July. And now we have enough fentanyl in this country to kill every American. Nothing to worry about, though. Don't close the border, okay? Keep opening the gates, keep opening the door. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just that we have a ton of fentanyl now.
Well, there's a lot of problems with America, the mass inflation, trust in our government, but over 108,000 drug overdose deaths this past year, and that doesn't even, compute all the people that had issues where those are fatal drug overdoses where people overdosed and didn't die. So we have a whole entire problem that the government is not addressing whatsoever, with young people experimenting with drugs that are way more potent and powerful than anything that we ever had as children. So I think this really is I think it's being done on purpose in order to literally kill the youth of America. So I like to joke around, but I've had friends that died. I've known multiple people that have died of fentanyl overdose, and it's really a nightmare, and the government is doing basically nothing to stop this.
Yeah, because what is the end goal of making them rainbow colored? To Alex's point, why? Because if someone
more appealing, yeah,
right. Because if someone
audience.
wants fentanyl, they're going to go looking for it anyway. They're not going to care if it's rainbow colored. So why the rainbow colors?
Well, I think the issue too is that there's a lot of fentanyl that is being laced with weed, with cocaine, with various other drugs. I've talked to several sources who said, "Oh, my friend has died because they wanted to smoke a joint. They were just trying to, have fun with these college-type drugs, but then there's fentanyl inside of them." So I think it's really to just expand the audience of people who would potentially use fentanyl. I've been on these streets of San Francisco and I've watched what this drug does to people. They have the fentanyl crawl over there because people will just be slumped over for 6 to 8 hours, just cracked out basically. So it's a terrifying drug, and it takes a very, very small amount to kill somebody. So yeah, to Alex's point, this is definitely an attack on the youth. If they're not being targeted by, Chinese propaganda on TikTok and their brains are melting that way, then they're being targeted by Chinese fentanyl.
Yeah.
They're dying in that way.
And to your point, 2 milligrams of fentanyl is enough to kill someone. So we're really... On the program, Yaku was on here, and he does a ton of work at the border, right, with fentanyl. And he was trying to make a point with a Splenda packet, a sugar packet, and how much it could kill. And he got up and left because he wanted to go find one. And it was in the middle of the program, and I was like, where's he going? Where's he going? Where's he going? Where's he going? Oh my, what's happening? And it turns out he was just going to make the point that this tiny amount of fentanyl is enough to kill so many Americans. And the Biden administration doesn't want to seem to do anything about it. But when we're talking about the border, another thing the Biden administration doesn't want to seem to do anything about is the human trafficking situation that's going on there. Savanah, you have done a tremendous job over at the border uncovering stories that really every American needs to hear about. I want to play a clip of Savanah, who talked to a whistleblower who, of course, wanted to remain anonymous, who was talking about the Biden administration trafficking children across the country, handing them to completely unvetted sponsors. Let's listen to some of that.
For those of us in the audience who might not know what MVM Inc. is, can you explain to us what your company is and what they do?
It's a company that focuses on getting, they call it UCs, unaccompanied children, unaccompanied minors, getting them from point A to point B. And most of the time, point A is from a shelter all throughout Texas and all across the country. And point B is with a sponsor most of the time it's a family member, but lately the numbers are so crazy that it's no longer family members, it's family friends, people who are willing to take them in.
So if you could give us an estimate, how many children per month do you think are being moved just in the Texas area?
Well, like I said, it's between all the offices, it's in the thousands. I say 8 to 10, but that's in 1 week. So in a month, I would say around 40,000, 30,000 kids.
Savanah, tell America what they need to know.
So, number one, this employee works for MVM Inc., and that's the same exact company that was already caught flying migrants illegally in the middle of the night to New York. We saw those flights. We saw, the hundreds of people being flown over there. So
Were those the migrants with the manila folders?
I don't think they would have had the manila folders
Okay.
because these charter flights are being paid for by this federally contracted company.
Okay.
So, they rent
These
out
are the
whole
ones we're
flight.
not seeing.
Yeah, exactly.
Great.
So these are the ones in the middle of the night. And the crazy thing about this is, in this interview, he's saying they put 200 to 300 children on a charter flight. They're escorting them to New York, California, Washington, Oregon. Just in his office alone, they're moving 2,000 to 5,000 kids per week. There's about 4 offices in all of Texas, so that equates to about 8,000 to 10,000 children per week. Texas-wide, 30,000 to 40,000 per month, just like he said. And the craziest part of this and the most chilling part of this interview that I listened to was how he was saying that it's the MVM Inc. employee's responsibility to make sure that the adult that they're handing the child over to is the same adult like on this paper, right? So when they process these children, the Office of Refugee Resettlement gives them this paper, they give the child a social security number, and they put the sponsor's identification. So we have an email that we acquired that basically from an MVM site manager is saying, hey, you guys are accepting identification that was not approved by ORR. So they're essentially handing kids over to these random adults throughout the U.S. This is what's being alleged. This is happening tens of thousands of times every single month under the Biden administration, which signed a federal contract with MVM Inc. for $136 million back in 2021. So our taxpayer dollars going towards essentially trafficking children. But the funny thing about the word trafficking, right, is that child trafficking would mean that it's illegal. However, I couldn't use that terminology because Joe Biden's administration is making it legal, right? So essentially, they're just youth travel escorts.
It's really hard to believe when I'm listening to this how far we've fallen in less than 2 years. We were talking about it on the program. Look, I try to keep this thing light, okay? I know, like Alex will make it funny in a second, I'm sure. But it really is, it overwhelms me at times that, especially in reference to the border, it's like, how much work did Donald Trump try to put into making sure? Now, there was only so much he could do because he couldn't, Congress holds the purse strings, so he couldn't make them fork up the money in order to secure the border with the wall. But he put so much work and prioritized trying to build a more secure border. And Joe Biden, it's all intentional. That's the thing, this is all intentional, and look at all of the collateral damage just so that Joe Biden could say, well, I undid what Donald Trump did.
Yeah, it's really dangerous too. You look at the sex trafficking, and I go and I walk my dogs at Bachman Lake every day, and I see all the time an adult with accompanied minors, like 2 young kids. You can tell they just got here because they have like a new T-shirt from Walmart and like a new backpack, and they have face masks on. Even though in Texas, like hardly anybody wears it, so you're kind of like they don't even know the rules. So, it's a glaring issue, and we kind of just say the same old story, like, oh, what are we going to do to stop it? But this is a controlled demolition of the American middle class. And, people are saying, oh, the Great Replacement, that's a, conspiracy. First of all, when I grew up, they told us that Hispanics were going to outnumber Caucasians in Texas by 2040. And that's their plan. So I'm not saying that it's some sort of right-wing conspiracy, but their plan is working. And all these poor kids that can't get a normal job are going to be sex trafficked, get abused, and then likely get on drugs. It's just it's a very sad world growing up without a parent.
So, Savanah, I'm going to give you last word on this. What is the end goal of this company, right? Like, why is it just workers who don't give a crap about these kids and are just trying to get through their 9 to 5? Is it something more, cunning and intentional than that? Like, why is this company doing this to these kids?
So, for example, my whistleblower, because that's one of the questions I asked him, why did you get into this?
Yeah.
Because, it kind of seems like you're smuggling kids.
Right.
And he initially kind of,
Yeah.
a little bit, yeah, a little bit.
bit.
He goes on to say, when I first started doing this, I just wanted to reunite these kids with their families. And when I was first doing this, you could tell that it was the reunification of a family. They would hug, they would cry, they were excited to see the child. Now under Joe Biden's administration, because the border is so overwhelmed and they're shipping so many children, now the sponsors they're handing them over to, they're not even excited to see the kid. They won't even look at the kid. And oftentimes the child will admit, I'm not related to this adult either. So yeah, there's so much more to this as well. I'd highly recommend people go read the piece that I wrote for it in the Post Millennial, because again, these employees aren't even being given proper background checks, and they're working with kids from 1 month to 17 years of age. On top of that, the cartel members are also passing off as children, and I quote my whistleblower saying, the kids know who to stay away from in these shelters. And then finally, the employees passing these kids off to improperly identified adults. So this is the situation that we are funding right now every single day. And I think a lot of these employees, they had good intentions. They wanted to help these kids, but ultimately this is the reality of it. And that's why whistleblowers are coming forward now and talking about it, because they realize that this is an egregious situation that we're putting children in.
Remind everyone where they can find, I know you said the Post Millennial, but Instagram, I highly suggest that you guys follow her, YouTube as well. I know Instagram is what?
At Sav with one N. And then, YouTube, Sav says, go watch the full interview. I'd highly recommend it because, again, there's so many different angles to this story that every American needs to be aware of.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we appreciate you taking the time to go get these stories because they're very, very important. All right, we got to take another quick break. First, I want to thank Grove Collaborative. So Grove is where I go for all of my cleaning products. They've got toiletries, they've got cleaning products, they've got anything that you need in your household, especially if you are someone who, I have kids. Alex has cats.
I have a lot of cats, and so a lot of litter box cleaning. I definitely need a lot of Grove products to keep my house not stinky.
But especially because you want to make sure, I mentioned I have kids, I want to make sure that my kids have a product in the household that is safe for children. Alex wants to make sure that he has a product that is safe for his cats, okay?
Very safe.
Also for him, because as he points out, he does probably have toxoplasmosis.
Yes.
He wouldn't have gotten that if he had used Grove and the products over at Grove. So with Grove, you are getting all of these. They're awesome products. They've got Mrs. Myers, if any of you guys. I went to Whole Foods to get Mrs. Myers a long time ago. I was like, why am I paying $10 million for a cleaning product? It's way cheaper on Grove. It's the same product, and you know that it's green, so it's going to be safe for your family, your kids, your pets, your cats, whatever the case may be. You can go to grove.com/news today to get a free gift set worth up to $50 with your first order. Shipping is fast and free. You got to go there, all right? They've got amazing products. Try them out over at grove.com/news. That is grove.com/news. A whole load of more experts have come to believe, you guys are going to be really shocked to hear this, that sex between men in itself, both anal as well as oral intercourse, is likely the main driver of the global monkeypox transmission.
Sarah, I wasn't aware that I was on a show with a bigot, so I have to go.
Yeah, and first of all, I want to say that's impossible. That's lying because there's a bunch of babies and dogs that have gotten it. So
there
there's definitely
sure are,
no
Alex.
way.
There sure are.
There's zero way. Misinformation.
And what I'm saying, Alex, is that we should probably look a little more into those particular cases, especially the dog with the anal lesions.
Yeah.
Is what I'm saying.
Come on, this is just a right-wing conspiracy. No, it's not. It's just from a toilet seat. That's how you get it.
Yeah, I think we should actually probably reinstate masks and lockdowns just in case, because you never know when your dog could get monkeypox and then sit on your bed and then you touch your bed and then you have monkeypox.
Yeah.
Like, that's how it works.
Well, have you seen the media too has been using this guy as like the face of monkeypox? He's so brave. And then they talk about his occupation and he's a gay porn star. Have you guys seen that?
My favorite thing in the
you gotta
world
be-
were the Twitter threads that were like,
He's on NBC News, he's everywhere.
I love the threads that were like, I got monkeypox after I had an orgy with 10 men for 4 days straight, but I don't know what happened. Like, I just got monkeypox.
And
you're
in that same thing, he says they drank urine. Yeah, that's a very
yeah,
weird.
he went to a pee party and then he got monkeypox and he was like, I just don't know what happened after the orgy that I had for 4 days in a row after drinking pee. I just got monkeypox.
He's like, what went wrong?
I don't know what happened.
I don't know what I could have done to prevent this from happening. I don't know. Maybe just don't go to the gay orgies. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, it seems like a lot, Sarah.
It
seems like a lot to ask.
I guess like I'm of the age where I'm like, how do you guys I just want to sleep on the weekends.
Yeah, you don't want to go to gay orgies.
I don't want to go to straight orgies. I just don't want to go to orgies.
As a person that goes to orgies a lot, there's always usually good catering.
The orgy
They're pretty
expert
relaxed.
is weighing in.
Let's not demonize the orgies.
Hold on. There's catering?
Oh, yeah, usually, you get tired. You need food. You need carbohydrates.
Okay,
yeah,
I'm kind of interested
It's
now.
a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly. That's what you have to have. You have orange slices and, Gatorade on
An
tap.
electrolyte station.
Yeah.
Monkeypox vaccination station in the back, just in case. Keep everyone safe.
Well, it's funny because, Savanah, you just joked that you were on with a bigot, right? Because
that was not a joke.
I'm sorry. Because it's obviously bigoted, is what the left says, to try to suggest that these are spread primarily through gay men. This is spread primarily through gay men, which obviously is that's just a fact. That's just a statistic, not bigoted. But if we were to believe that it was bigoted, the Biden administration is now allowing state governments to order monkeypox vaccines for distribution at, quote, large LGBT events. Which is like, so either we're all admitting that this is something that is spread primarily through the gay community, or you guys are also bigots, but I feel like you need to pick one.
Sarah, the first time I went to a monkeypox protest was in New York because apparently they have a big LGBTQ community.
Wait, are you being serious?
Wait,
yes.
There was a monkeypox protest?
Yes.
I'm about to throw one.
They were protesting because they wanted more monkeypox vaccinations. And so the speaker, one of the lead speakers of the monkeypox protest, was a sex worker who was saying that it is her job to have sex with people, and people don't want to have sex with her because of monkeypox, and that's an issue. Which, my apologies, this was a trans person, so I don't know if it was a man or a woman.
That's my ex-girlfriend.
Yeah, exactly. I ran into Alex's ex. They were at the orgy together this past weekend, but he's been vaccinated for monkeypox, so we're safe. Sex worker, yeah, and she was upset because she couldn't, and I quote, F a bunch of people. She would rather be effing people in the AC right now, not protesting for monkeypox. That's just the on-the-ground journalism that I'm, providing for Americans every day. So.
Well, I have to say this. Listen, they're giving us all the free vaccines, monkeypox, coronavirus. Give us some free insulin. Give us some free crap that we actually need, okay? They can subsidize all of these vaccines, make these drug prices more affordable for the elderly and the people that cannot afford them.
Alex, that's what the Inflation Reduction Act is going to do, silly goose.
That is actually a great point because, in this particular situation, I think HHS is arranging for 50,000 doses from the national stockpile to be made available for Pride and other events that will have a high attendance of gay and bisexual men. But we're seeing now all of this, the government colluding with Big Pharma on vaccinations and vaccines. We had the COVID vaccine. I guess I can say this and not get kicked off YouTube because I'm just saying the government is the one that's in charge of ordering all of it and distributing it. Now the government is buying up all of these and distributing it to states. And it's like, wait a second, why are you guys only colluding with Big Pharma when it comes to vaccines, but not any cancer treatments, not any life-saving, life-saving devices, not, to your point, insulin, not things that the average American, who isn't actually going out and participating in gay orgies, so kind of bringing it on themselves, all of these average Americans can't afford, but the Biden administration just wants to focus on vaccines.
And don't forget the billions of doses that have expired that they weren't even able to give to other foreign countries. They even said that at the World Economic Forum. They even talked about how they couldn't give these vaccines to, third world countries. So they're not only buying medicine, but they're buying medicine that is expiring and not even getting distributed.
And in fact, Savanah, wasn't it Donald Trump who signed something to make insulin more affordable, and Joe Biden, that was one of the things that he reversed when he got into office. Yeah, it was like day one, I'm just going to reverse all of the good that Donald Trump did.
Well, it's just because Joe Biden cares so much about the American people that he wants to push the vaccine on us more, because we all know that leads to longevity and a good, healthy life. The more vaccines you get, the better, truly. So if you're not quadruple, vaccinated like Jill and Joe Biden, who just tested positive for COVID for the 58th time.
It wasn't that bad.
What are you doing?
It wasn't that bad, though.
It's like that headline, right? My favorite COVID headline was, man dies from COVID, but he was vaccinated, so it could have been worse.
It could have been worse.
It could have been worse.
They literally said his family was like, well, it could have been worse.
But it could have been worse.
Like, he could have died more?
Yeah.
Quicker. He could have died quicker, guys. Come on. Listen, the vaccine is the most safe and effective tool that the government has ever given us. So thank you for my Fauci ouchie. I love you, Dr. Fauci. You are an American hero that I worship and I pray to every morning and night.
Alex wakes up and injects a Fauci-ouchie every morning.
Every morning.
Every
You never
morning.
can be too careful.
No, the more Fauci-ouchie, the better.
Right. I'm not even sure if people on YouTube are able to watch this at this point. But
Sorry, guys.
We've got to take another quick break. Want to thank our sponsor, Bank on Yourself. So if you are looking at your 401k or IRA account balance and you're like, oh, I had a lot more money in there like 3 years ago when things were different, you can build a financial bunker that grows and protects your money during even the worst economic times. This is Bank on Yourself. This is a retirement plan alternative that lets you escape the financial carnage. And by the way, it's never had a losing year in like over 160 years. I'd call that a very good track record. So you've got to do this. It lets you reach your financial goals and dreams without taking any unnecessary risks. This is a tax-free retirement income. It's going to protect you from all of the tax tsunami that the Biden administration wants to impose on you. I talked to these people. I looked at it. When they explained it to me, because I was like, how do you do this? I was amazed at what they told me. You've got to go there, get a free report with all the details of how adding Bank on Yourself to your financial plan can help you take back control of your money. You can do that at bankonyourself.com/matters. That is bankonyourself.com/matters. A Yale professor who co-founded the Yale Pediatric Gender Program was filmed saying she helps treat those questioning for their gender and also provides guidance for medical intervention for patients aged 3 to 25. I want to make sure that you've taken your blood pressure medication before you watch this clip.
I'm a clinical psychologist by training, and I am the director of the Yale Gender Program, which is an interdisciplinary program working with gender-expansive individuals, 3 to 25, and their families. We help individuals who are questioning their gender identity or who identify as transgender or non-binary. We help them with their gender journey, thinking through the risks and the benefits of medical intervention, starting medical intervention, and also building supports around them. And I love what I do, so it's really, really wonderful to be working in this field.
You know, I don't really use the terminology demon or demonic very lightly, but I watch things like this and I'm just like, demons are walking among us, and they're not just walking among us, they're actually taking care of our children when they are the most vulnerable. And they are considered to be the experts now because somehow this mentally ill community has infiltrated the medical community, and we have accepted medical practice I mean, it gets worse because I saw Matt Walsh post some videos in this same vein of doctors saying that they're whenever they come out of the birthing canal, right? As soon as they are born, people know that they are a different gender. They just know. And then they say parents know because, maybe their daughter likes to play with trucks, or maybe they refuse cutting their hair. It's like, I would definitely be trans. I would be a trans man right now if my parents had followed medical advice in 2022 because I was a tomboy. I didn't want to wear dresses.
Sarah,
the modern
day science is essentially like, oh, if your baby's crying, they're crying because they're in the wrong body and they're sad. That's essentially the modern day science. And that's why they censored Gays Against Groomers on Twitter. Yep. They got their Twitter back. But that's why they censor those types of accounts because they had just posted a picture the other day of what the process of creating a male member for a young woman looks like. Yeah. They strip the skin off of their arms. It's horrifying to look at. Mm-hmm. It's mutilation. And it's like, you do need to see these pictures. It's kind of like the abortion thing, right? Where people don't know what abortion really is until they see the procedure. Same exact thing with these the transition surgeries. It's horrifying, and the fact that children are being targeted with this is disgusting.
And let me make my point. And they're getting bigger dongs than I have, so that's the biggest problem. Okay, so if you're gonna get a fake dong, it cannot be bigger than mine.
Be realistic. Come on, guys.
Okay, so that is where I put my foot down. If you're gonna give a child a fake penis, make sure that it is smaller than mine, so it can only be about 2 inches.
I'm going to skip completely over that and not comment on it because I don't want to get in trouble. But I'm instead going to your point, Savanah. It feels a whole lot like if this is like, who is the one who has something to hide? The people who say, hey, before you go through this process, you should know exactly what it is, or the people who say, no, shh, don't tell anyone what actually happens. We just want them to do it first so that they can't reverse it and have complete regret.
Well, it's kind of the same thing, right, with like Rachel Levine trying to hide that she's a man. Just gonna go ahead and say that.
She is? What?
Yeah.
Rachel Levine is a man?
Yeah, you know, the
Rachel Levine
transgender-
looks so feminine. What?
Wait,
I know.
no, that's impossible.
I know. It's just like all I'm saying is the transgender community tries to hide a lot of stuff, but I really think people are able to kind of see through it sometimes, but just on a very rare occasion. So.
Well, there's a let's add to this conversation, a 10-year-old who is, I guess this is a boy who identifies as a girl, who is now being celebrated as the youngest transgender model on the New York Fashion Week runway. This particular kid's guardians said that I never know. I need a flow chart. I need to know, like, the pronouns get weird when I'm reporting a story. But so is a biological male, began socially transitioning at the age of 4. And I know you guys will be shocked to hear both parents identify as non-binary. But it's not... I almost knocked your flowers over, Alex. But it's not. But it's not being pushed on these kids. Of course not. No, this is he made it in his own mind, his own opinion. It's just a coincidence that both of his parents are non-binary, and he's completely screwed up.
Well, as a coincidence theorist, coincidences do exist. So yeah, it's just a coinky-dink.
It's like Desmond is amazing. Do you remember him?
Yes.
He was the original
Yes.
drag kid.
Yes.
It's like when he was joking about doing ketamine with the other club kids.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, that's just something that kids joke about when they're 10 years old.
Well, and I just want to make this point, though. You know, their parents can be non-binary, but these parents are using kids as clout on social media or for attention from the media. Like, this is where it is we have toxic parents. We have a serious parental issue that this child didn't get to pick their parents. So, you know, forget the child for taking advantage of this. I don't want to demonize them too much, but these parents are the one that really should take a lot of the blame.
That is really true. I mean, I feel horrible for these kids. It's like they don't stand a chance being raised by these monsters.
Did you see the news hit the other day where it's this transgender child and the mom is like mouthing what the child is saying?
That was very viral.
Yeah.
It was so creepy.
It's exactly they're indoctrinating this child and they're brainwashing them to, you know, think that they're not really a boy or not really a girl. It's really sad.
Munchausen by proxy is what they call it.
Absolutely. Death penalty for all of those parents. Is that
Straight
too
to
harsh?
jail.
No, it's not. All right, we got to take a quick break. We'll be back. All right, we don't have much time left, but I do want to share with you one more story. All versions of the Bible and an illustrated version of Anne Frank's diary were among the challenged books that were pulled from shelves across Keller Independent School District. This is in the DFW area here in Texas, like probably, 20 to 30 minutes away from this studio. Texas education officials began an investigation last December into claims that the district did not properly evaluate books that had made their way into the classroom and school libraries, which may have resulted in sexually explicit materials being made accessible to school-age children, which, as we know, the Bible and Anne Frank's diary, very inappropriate and sexually explicit.
I'm glad those are the books that we're focused in on,
Right.
Because I know right now there's a lot of children's books that talk about fellatio, have photographs to show the kids exactly about all of that. But it's a really good thing that instead of focusing on those books, we're focusing on the books that matter and are radicalizing children like the Bible every single day.
As long as they still have Dianetics by my leader L. Ron Hubbard from the Church of Scientology, then everything will be okay.
Then those kids will be properly educated.
The kids will be properly educated. Just read the Church of Scientology literature, and you guys will be A-okay.
It really is scary, especially in Keller because, I guess it's right next to Southlake, which just had a reckoning of all of the crazy, radical, liberal school board members. And they were like, yeah, we want your asses out because we don't want this. And I guess they moved over to Keller, and now they're trying to indoctrinate those children. But Greg Abbott, all right, you got to be governor because we don't want O'Rourke, but do something, okay? I almost made a joke that I made. I'm not going to get canceled. Make sure to join Blaze TV over at blazetv.com.